Good morning, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Steineman with Prepaid Legal Services. I'm going to take this 8 to 10 minutes that I have this morning to not so much focus on the legal services that Prepaid Legal offers, but more so on the identity theft portion of it, which most people don't seem to consider. It's actually really important. We are partnered with Kroll Background America. They're the world's largest risk management company in the world. They were the same people who were responsible for uncovering hidden assets in the Wake Islands from Saddam Hussein, also involved in the reconstruction of Enron, and they're the same people who do the background checks for TSA when it comes to hiring those types of people. So needless to say, they're on top of things, and they work for governments in terms of protecting and managing their risk. So I'm sure they can do a good job for an individual, right? When they partnered with Prepaid Legal, we actually did our due diligence on them, and we had done it a couple of times before we initially made the decision that we wanted to work with them to offer this solution to our clients. So Prepaid Legal, we offer 5 different areas under the membership, and then there's also the identity theft part, which is offered by Kroll. So under Prepaid Legal, you have preventive, child defense, IRS tax audit, motor vehicle, and then the legal shield, right? So those 5 areas are covered under Prepaid Legal membership. But with Kroll, it's similar to what you may have seen on TV by Free Credit Report or LifeLock, which is now going through a $12 million lawsuit, and they've lost. So now the Federal Trade Commission is going to be watching them for the next, I think, 12 to 25 years because of something they had in their agreement to their clients saying that what they're providing is actually going to help them, when in reality it was just sending a fraud alert to Experian and TransUnion, and it only protected them for 90 days because that's what TransUnion and Experian are required to do. So they're just using their hotline to create a service that wasn't actually real. But with Kroll, we do give you a free credit report, needless to say, and it's a soft hit, so it won't affect your credit score. And after that, you have continuous credit monitoring. You'll get an email once a month to basically let you know if anything has changed, if anyone is using your information in different areas within the country or even in Canada. And then lastly, the most important thing I would say is that you now have a private investigator that's going to be assigned to you personally if something does happen and you have to take action to clean up whatever is going on. So on average, just to give you a little bit of info, it takes around 600 hours and $2,000 to clean up, for someone to clean up their own mess as far as recovering their identity, right? So that's time, think of we sleep 8 hours, but sleep 8 hours, you work 8 hours, and you have 8 hours of whatever you want to do, right? Some of that's commute, some of that's with family, some of that may be with recreation. So just think if, you're either having to take your time away from your work, your family, or your recreation, and you shouldn't be having to do that to clean up something that, you didn't obviously intentionally say, here's my identity and my social security number. So basically, I had lost my wallet in the past, and it fell into the ocean and it floated away to go after it because it was in Bodega Bay. And basically I just canceled some of the stuff and I called Kroll, and they basically assured me that the things I had already done were in fact correct. They assured me that in the case that something does happen, then all I would have to do is let them know and they would take care of it. So just as an example, I think I have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Most people think that financial identity theft is the only thing that they should be concerned with, but it's only one. It's only one of the major forms of identity theft. There's also health identity theft, driver's license, social security, and the newest one is called cyclical, and then cyclical identity theft. Now I'll get into that in a second. But all those also lead to character criminal, which is basically you being incriminated for someone else using your good name and committing crimes with your information. So just briefly to go over those so you have an idea, I'll use anecdotes because I feel stories are more effective. Social security identity theft. There was a lady who went to go and apply for a job at Target, and she found out she already worked there, plus 37 other places. And then she called the Social Security Administration and asked them what she could do. And she was in her mid-40s, and basically the only option they gave her was to wipe out her social security and to start over. So, you know, things like that can happen, and that's definitely, you don't want to put yourself in that position or be put in that position unknowingly. The IRS come after you. So driver's license, needless to say, someone else is using your driver's license with their picture on it, and maybe they get a DUI, and obviously they don't go to court because they're gross and they're like, now Brooks is driving home, and he gets pulled over because he's speeding a little bit, and they see he has a warrant out for his arrest for not showing up to a court hearing because he had a DUI, and then the police sees that, and they're gonna go and take him in and ask questions later. But luckily, if Brooks is a prepaid legal member, he has something that I always carry in my wallet, which is your legal shield. It basically gives you 24-hour access to an attorney. It says right on it, if it is your intent to question, detain, or arrest me, please allow me to call my attorney immediately. So I've actually had to use this only once. But so you know, you can use that, and obviously if you're being detained for reasons that aren't just, then you have every right to be able to call your attorney without having to worry about, oh, well, is this going to cost me $400? So that's driver's license. The other is health. So this is a funny story, kind of, but basically one gentleman, he got a call from his insurance company saying that he's being charged for an amputation he had, and he's sitting here thinking like, I have both my legs. What are you talking about? And they're saying, yes, sir, you had this surgery on this date, and you had your legs amputated. He's like, no, I didn't. What are you talking? You know. So basically, he went up into their office and said, look, I have both my legs. You know, this is not true. And he got that resolved. But it's actually, if you don't solve that within, I think, 60 to 90 days, then regardless of who actually had the surgery performed upon them, it's your debt, right? So think if that costs, I don't know how much that costs, but let's say $20,000. Oh
no.
No? More? Okay.
Yeah.
Bare minimum.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just being conservative here.
Very
so
conservative.
let's say, you know, now like you didn't know about that, but if you had parole, you did. So, you know, otherwise that debt would be accrued to you, and that's not something you want to, you know, that's not a position you want to be in. So I think the last one is cyclical identity theft, which I said is the newest form, which is basically where people are taking random pieces of other people's information and they'll make a new person, right? So they'll take Carrie's social security number, Brooke's name, Byron's address, and Judy's phone number, and they'll make a new person, and then they'll basically go and use that information online for different purposes. So that's like the newest form. One thing I will send as a follow-up, as far as like the newest form of identity theft, there's something called virtual pocketing, I think it's called, or electronic pickpocketing. And basically, it's where someone has a netbook and they have this software on it where they can just walk by you and they can be up to 100 feet away, and get your information off your credit card, your passport, or your driver's license. As long as you guys should check your credit cards actually. If you have, mine doesn't have it on it, but if it's there's this little like speaker sign, like you know the sound sign that I'm talking about, and it has that thing like where you can tag it. And also new passports have that little symbol on the front, the little circle with the flags. That as well, and pretty much anything you can tag with, they can tag to get your information. So if you think people are taking these things in their backpack into a stadium, that's a lot of victims that day, right? And they can do some serious damage. So needless to say, identity theft is a major issue that we're having to face more and more. It's not so much a question of if it will happen, but when, with already 27,000 times every day, or the equivalent to every 3 seconds. It's a really major issue that people should consider, and thank you all for your time.